Hello everyone, my name is T Hunter. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and thank you so much for coming back. Whew. I guess I should be saying that to myself. I've been gone for a minute. Anywho, let's get into today's video. I know I'm so many weeks behind. Most of y'all probably don't care at this point, but I still wanted to do my recap, my takeaways, just, wrap up this MAFS season 13 with a bow. So where should we start? Well, I have some notes, so I'm going to start with Brett and Ryan. So watching this couple this season, I believe the lack of attraction on Ryan's behalf really killed the marriage in its early stages, or killed the hopes of them being able to have a thriving marriage in the first stages. It's hard to be continually rejected and held at arm's length by someone that you are attracted to. And I'm sure it's even harder to be rejected by someone that you have been matched with. And if your ideal marriage is for a lifetime, till death do you part, not until the producers say cut, that has to be super difficult. And I get that sometimes we do want to come down on people for having a specific physical type when it comes to, their interest, what it takes to spark that interest. However, I also believe that this seemingly small and trivial detail, we cannot blaze past that. We cannot ignore that when we're matchmaking. Why? Because if someone is asking for a specific thing, no matter how big or small we might think it is, they're asking for it. Why not just provide it? So while I'm not saying that Brett or Ryan needed to be supermodels, it's just nice to give people what they ask for. If I'm asking you for chocolate ice cream, please do not try to confuse me by offering me a scoop of strawberry. I'm going to be able to tell the difference, and I'm going to wonder, why didn't you just give me what I asked for in the first place? So, no, physical attraction does not make the entire cake if the entire cake is supposed to be a thriving marriage. However, it is a nice factor for physical intimacy. And sometimes we may tend to give people a little bit more leeway if that wrapping paper is on point. We might give you a few more sentences, give you a little bit more slack to see exactly what your contents are before we just simply write you off and say, no, not interested, you're not sparking my interest, not today, no tomorrow, no next week, just no forever. I definitely was not okay with Ryan downloading the dating app 1 week prior to decision day. However, plot twist, I also was not okay with finding out the alleged rumor that Brett had exchanged numbers and possibly went on 1 or 2 dates with someone else before Ryan downloaded the dating app. So, cause and effect. It's the tale as old as time classic scenario where, you can have 2 kids in a classroom and one kid hauls off and seemingly unprovoked punches the other kid, and the teacher's like, okay, the person who just threw a punch, you go to the principal's office. But what the teacher did not see was that under the table, the victim was, kicking the other kid until the other kid just finally snapped. So we didn't know the full context. So maybe Ryan thought it was okay for him to download the dating app because of this knowledge that he supposedly had that Brett was talking to someone else, or she was at least distracted by someone else. Who knows? But either way, yeah. If we're signing up for a process, let's stick with the process until it ends. Once the ink dries on those final divorce papers, then you can go ahead and start browsing and then adding to cart and then checking out other people, because clearly they were already checked out of the marriage. But you catch my drift, hopefully. Okay, that was Brett and Ryan. Next, Johnny and Bao. Wow. So during the season, and even a few times at the reunion, Johnny referred to Bao as being disingenuous, and that was a huge turnoff for him. So I believe he cut up the way that he did during the season because he did feel trapped. Anytime that Bao would ask him, can you give me an example of how I'm not being real? Can you tell me how maybe I'm not showing up in the most authentic way? And Johnny would clam up. So automatically, you know, I'm thinking, okay, so this theory of her not being authentic is just another way for you to try to find a way out of this marriage, Johnny. Like, you don't have a leg to stand on. This isn't true. But then we get to the reunion and Johnny says the reason why he was so tight-lipped with information was because he and Bao had an agreement that they would not discuss certain things on camera unless they had discussed it beforehand. So if the cameraman and the producers show up and they want to have a conversation about intimacy, had they not discussed, well, what will we say when this topic comes up? When the cameras are there, Johnny just, he chose to abide by that agreement he had with his wife and just did not say anything. And I could definitely see how feeling like you're being silenced could lead to a lot of frustration and then an implosion, or in some cases an explosion. I do not excuse Johnny's behavior toward Bao at all, as far as just, you know, the countless episodes where we saw him tearing her down, saying that he would have preferred to have been matched with anyone else, going to her friend Sarah for, I guess, validation in his feelings. Like, hey, please tell me I'm not crazy. Has she behaved this way towards you? Because this is how I'm experiencing her. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It'd been one thing if he would have gone to her family, aka like his extended family, because, you know, marriage is not only two people getting married, but it also blends two families. So it's one thing to go and talk to, you know, her family, like, hey, I really need advice. I'm not sure how to navigate this. Is this how she normally presents? Do I need to just give it time? Is she simply nervous because she does not want to present herself in a way that would be displeasing or dishonoring to the family, or, you know, be embarrassing if her coworkers were to see it? You know, that'd be different, I feel like, if you went to her family and asked in a curious, non-judgmental way. But by the time he referred to Sarah, it just felt like, I don't like her. I just need to know if there's anybody else out there that doesn't like her too. So while I can agree with Bao when she said, you know, hey, like, my family's going to watch this. I have a professional job. I am concerned about how my colleagues will view me and how they will treat me based on how I present myself on camera. And that's great. You know, you do want to be mindful of that. You do want to be intentional when you're on a reality TV show, because that editing, they're going to edit to make sure that they get the ratings that they need. Without the ratings and the views, the show cannot continue. I know they say the show must go on, but if nobody's watching it, it's not going to go on. It's going to get scrapped. So it's okay to be intentional about how you're coming across on camera, but it is not okay to present yourself in such a way that you are seen as perfect and it's impossible for you to make any mistakes. Because if you're going to do that, as the experts highlighted, people can experience you as manipulative, as controlling, and those are not attractive traits to have. I don't know of anybody who intentionally says, you know what, the type of person I want to marry, I want them to be manipulative. I want them to be controlling. I want them to be so concerned with how they come across that they will always look like, you know, the golden girl or the golden boy. And in comparison, I'm going to look like the villain. Oh, that's what I want. That's what I want. I don't know of any people that would say that. So perhaps that could have been why it was so difficult. So Val, yeah, I'm with you on wanting to be intentional with your camera time because of who's watching it. No problem. speaking freely about your bedroom activities on camera, maybe not so much. I can understand that completely. But production crews, they can spin a narrative, whether you tell them the complete truth or you hold back bits and pieces of information. So you can say all of the right things and you can still come across a totally different way than you intended to the viewers, to the production crew. Period. So I can respect her for standing her ground and ultimately walking away from the marriage once she realized that the mistreatment that was possibly stemming from Johnny's feelings of frustration probably was not going to stop. So yeah. Johnny said he wanted to see how things might go once the cameras went away, but by that point, I believe, Bao's spirits and maybe even her thoughts about him as being a good husband had been dashed, and took them from here to here. So she opted not to stay in the marriage. And she had said at the retreat, I watched my mother, take things that maybe I don't think that I would have taken. And so I don't want to be in a marriage with someone who is going to mistreat me. Absolutely. I agree with you, Bao, 100%. Completely. And I kind of wish I had known. I kind of wish Johnny had been a bit more free. You know what? I'm not doing this to make you look like the bad person. I'm doing this because I want to give context. Hey, the reason why I might be tight-lipped, the reason why I might not seem as open and as free with what I want to say and my thoughts is because I have had this discussion with Bao that we will not discuss certain things on camera unless we've talked about it privately first. Even just dropping that tidbit could have changed things up a little bit. Maybe it might have even sparked, them revisiting this idea of, okay, I'm going to be respectful. And maybe there are some things that I will not say, but I'm not going to just be silent when they ask me a question just because you asked me to be. Or you're tying my hands in a way that I feel like I have to be silent. So I definitely wish that had been addressed on camera prior to the reunion, but it wasn't. Moving on to the next couple. Zach and Michaela. I'm just going to be honest. I think I was rocking so hard for them because after the shenanigans that I witnessed in season 12 with Chris and Paige and him saying all of the white queens, Asian queens, Latino queens that you could have chosen, you gave me Paige. That was hard to hear. And I'm not Paige. So I can only imagine how difficult that was for her to hear. Hey, my husband is just not attracted to me. And any way that he can tell y'all that, he's going to keep repeating that message all through the season. So after seeing that, I think I was just so relieved and I was elated that Zach and Michaela appear to be genuinely physically attracted to each other the moment they saw each other. When she rounded that corner, the way he laughed and threw his head back, it was relief. I am attracted to her, and based on how she's smiling at me, I think she might like me too. I think that's why I was rocking with them so hard in the beginning and just really wanting them to win, because it felt like a win that they were attracted to each other from the jump, because we didn't see that with Chris and Paige, unfortunately. So now that the show has wrapped and, Zach opted for a divorce while Michaela did say, I would like to continue, being your wife. I want to try. I want to do better, and I want to grow, and I want to grow with you, as well as making, the changes that I need to make on my own. But, that didn't happen. Zach said he wanted to get a divorce, but he still wanted to work on things. And I was thinking, that's not an option. It's stay married or get a divorce. But it seemed like they were going to try to rock with this agreement of, we will legally get a divorce, but we're still going to deal with each other, if you know what I mean. So since wrapping Michaela has shared publicly on her social media platform that she does have ADHD, and that contributed to her larger than life reactions on the show when she was faced with her triggers. And I was reading some commentary, either it was on another YouTube review or it was on Twitter, and they made a really good point. The person said, had Michaela's reactions not been so intense, we might have been able to pay more attention to Zach's contributions in their interactions. Those interactions that just kept going left. So we didn't get a chance to see, like I said previously, we didn't get a chance to see the cause and effect. We were just seeing the effect. And the effect was so big that it was really easy to ignore Zach's part in their relationship because we were so focused on what Michaela was doing. And that's tough. That was super tough because it took away from, time and attention that could have been given to Zach. Like, okay, this reaction is very hard to watch. I'm sure it's triggering because you're in this marriage with this person that's doing these things. So if she wasn't responding that way, like maybe there could have been more time and attention paid to Zach. Like, okay, let's slow down this conversation and let's really process these thoughts and these emotions. So when you're saying to her ABC, Michaela, what are you hearing? And vice versa. Michaela, when you say XYZ, Zach, what are you hearing? We didn't get that because Michaela admitted, the ADHD as well as unprocessed trauma, as well as, just even her headliner where it said the stubborn sweetheart. Like being in a space where maybe she had not healed completely from things that were traumatizing and were triggering, carrying that into a marriage, and then watching her play that out with her husband, who was like, I'm not a fan of conflict. I tend to run from it. So you having these explosive reactions whenever there's a conflict, like I cannot do this. So yeah, a lot of people were, in the comments on my videos and other videos and, just ripping Michaela to shreds because of these larger than life reactions. And then the show wraps. I watched the reunion and Zach opted to date Bao. And then there are alleged rumors that there were other women that he was also dating. And I know some people were saying, well, maybe he chose Bao because she's more level-headed. So when it comes to conflict, he doesn't have to worry about a larger than life reaction. Okay, I get that. So then why not just deal with Bao? Only Bao. So it sucks because Bao wasn't treated the best in her marriage. And then she opened herself up to date someone from this experience who also knows what it's like to not feel like you're being treated correctly. And the do-over just dysfunctioned. Again, dysfunction all over again. And I was thinking, you know what? I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. To be going through a divorce, thinking that you have an opportunity to possibly find love again, and then that person mishandles your heart and just mishandles you. Just the denial, the pattern of denial that I saw. Like Michaela said, hey, Zach told me if I were to let anyone know that we were intimate on our 1-month wedding anniversary, that he would deny it. And then as far as these other women are concerned, by the time that he was dating Bao, when the women would ask, according to screenshots, like, hey, just curious, are you dating anyone right now? His response would be no. And not only was he not dating, but he could understand why they would think he might be dating Bao exclusively because of pictures and blogs. So I just really pray that Zach and Michaela will find the peace and the healing that they both need as individuals before they move forward pursuing anyone else. Definitely a lot of prayers for Zach, because he was in the headspace of like possibly wanting to self-harm or not wanting to be here anymore because of all of the negative attention that he's now receiving. And I do have to admit that I do agree when he made this statement to one of the alleged girls that he was seeing on the side. These are real people, and these are real people's lives. Yeah. So while the cameras might not be on anymore, our actions have real consequences. And if we cannot stand up in the face of those consequences and accept responsibility for what we did that led to that consequence coming around, then we have to take time and think, okay, do I really want to commit this action if all of this over here is going to come towards me full force? So, all I can say is that I wish things had turned out differently. I wish things had gone better between the two of them. Like, even if they still opted not to remain together, I really, really wish that there wasn't so much toxicity, wasn't so much negativity between the two of them, because it's really hard to see. For me, as a black woman, it's hard for me to see black men and black women like going back and forth with each other, and they're supposed to be on the same team because they're married. That was just really hard to watch. So definitely, you know, much prayer to like every one of the cast members, because I'm sure divorce is not easy for anyone. I don't think anyone signed up with the idea of, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll just get a divorce. Like that can't feel good. Even if divorce was the best option, like I'm sure that's got to be hard. Like, oh, you know, I signed up for this process in an effort to find my forever, and it's over already. So definitely will be praying. So moving on to our next couple, go with Rachel and Jose. My opinion, things just went downhill since the lockout. In the beginning, we saw that Jose was very particular about, you know, his finances and how he manages them. That's not a problem at all. He's got a great credit score. He owns property. He's very successful in his professional life. However, his approach when it came to Rachel and their marriage in their personal life, he just came across as very controlling. Like, just there's no bending at all. So Rachel was open to love and wanting to make things work, and I think it was sad that she had acknowledged in the past she might not speak up for herself when it came to, you know, conflict or disagreement in her previous relationships. And then she was matched with someone who seemed to be very particular about how he wanted things to go. So much to the point that I questioned, was he able to be a husband who could say, you know what, I'm gonna take the backseat on this one. Babe, what are your thoughts? You know, what do you think? Like, these are my thoughts. This is the direction that I would like to go, but we are a team. Like, yeah, I might be the husband and the covering and the head, but I don't want to just be making all of the decisions without including you, because my decisions are going to affect you. Ripple effect. So I think Jose's tendency to come across as controlling drove her away. So the night that he got upset and he exploded at her for calling him Johnny's name, he cursed her out, threatened to throw his ring at her, and he told her to get out of the apartment and then proceeded to lock her out. And I know some people might think, oh, you know, well, he deserved what came next, which was Rachel later admitting later on in the season that the night she was locked out, she called her ex and spent the night at his house. And Jose had said he believed once a cheater, always a cheater. So he was already insecure about that when he found out that she had cheated in a previous relationship on their honeymoon. So then for her to go and spend the night with an ex, it's like, oh, that might be a hurdle that would be difficult to get past. So while they did agree to stay married and try to work things out and stay together, by the reunion, they were still on the rocks. She was supposed to move in. Things weren't going, I think, they weren't going Jose's way. Maybe she was taking too long to unpack. I'm not sure. But he liked things to be a certain way. And she packed up her things that were not, that she had unpacked and left. And by the time the reunion and by the time the Where Are They Now special aired, she was saying, yeah, that they both wanted to work on things. They still wanted to stay married, and she was going to move back in. And unfortunately, they have called it quits, like for good. So I just got the vibe that they were going to be walking on eggshells around each other, and that's not a comfortable position to be in, especially as an adult. Like, you can't be comfortable in the home that you share with your spouse because you don't want to say or do anything that's going to set them off. That's a hard life to live. And if marriage is supposed to be for a lifetime, I'm sorry, that's a lifetime that I would not sign up for. Like, we have to be mature enough to recognize, hey, like, everything doesn't have to be my way. If I'm not going to be flexible, I am not only going to compromise like my own health, I'm going to, jeopardize somebody else's health too. Because they're always worried about, okay, when is the next fight coming? Because things have to be your way. And anytime that they're not going to pan out your way, it's going to be a problem. That's, like I said, that's just a very difficult reality to exist in. And I think that's probably why they both chose to walk away at this point. So yeah, of course, much prayers and, hopes for the best for the two of them as they move forward. Speaking of moving, it is time for our next and actually final couple, Gil and Mirla. When you're not open and honest when it comes to relationships, there's always an opportunity for you to not only waste your time and that other person's time, but you can also break a heart. So whether Mirla had made the decision to break it off with Gil because she was scared or because she truly did not want to be with Gil at all, it was still a shock for me to see them break up, because watching them through the season, I thought I was watching someone opening up and seeing love grow and evolve, and seeing her go from, this is outside of my comfort zone because I don't know you. And maybe I'm not 100% attracted to you, and it's going to take time because I have to get to know you now to see if I can fall in love with your character, if maybe I'm not 100% attracted to the physical appearance. So either way, it was a shock. And Gil said he felt blindsided by it. And I'm like, us too, Gil. Since the show, Gil has been not only receiving a lot of support on Instagram, he recently did a podcast with, you know what? I do not want to butcher this man's name. So I'm just going to give you the title of the podcast, which also has a YouTube channel. It's called Dear Future Wifey. So the episode that Gil was featured on is 404. So this is season 4 of this podcast, and it is called Heal First. I will make sure to put the link for that episode in my description below if you want to check it out. So as I said, it was a shock to see Gil and Mirla break up after I thought, they were in a good place, him being patient with her and him trying to also own his stuff too. Like, not just, well, you need to be comfortable and you need to be open with me because I'm your husband. and we're married now. Like, he wasn't taking that approach. And if he did, I'm sure Mila would tell him, back up, I don't know you like that. And if you want to stay married to me, like, we're going to have to be comfortable with each other. So you can have the green light in your mind for me, but if it's a red light for me, like, nothing is going to be popping over here. No intimacy, physical, emotional, none of that. No thriving marriage, nothing. If I'm not comfortable, like, we both have to want this and we both have to be fighting for this if it's going to work. So it seemed like, what he was doing was working, because she agreed to stay married to him on decision day. And then 2 weeks later, it was over. So Gil has acknowledged that he is in therapy to help process his heartbreak in a healthy way. I believe Gil is taking the mature route by not only avoiding discussing Mirla on Instagram and on his lives, but he was also shutting down any negativity that was coming for his ex-wife by anyone else. So it's one thing to say, you know what, I'm not going to speak ill of you, but I'm going to let my followers kill you in the comments, And he opted not to do that, because you do reap what you sow. And sometimes we think, well, I did not directly do this thing. It's like, yeah, but you had influence to say, you know what? I don't want you to fight on my behalf. I don't want you to speak on my behalf. Leave this person alone. Like, what happened, happened. Yes, it sucked. But if I'm going to move on in a healthy way, that means that I cannot send anybody for her either. So major kudos and props to you, Gil, for that. That takes a lot of maturity. I just feel like healed people, they just move differently. So, congratulations to him in advance as he is, on this journey towards healing before, the future Mrs. Gil comes along. So my thoughts for Mirla. Girl, we reap what we sow. And I pray that I never see how this pans out, in the event that it is brutal, because how things ended was a bit brutal. I'm just saying it like it is. So, yeah, I commend each and every person who is saying, you know what, before I jump back into dating, I want to take time to focus on how I can grow and be in a position to better receive and give love in the future. So, for those of you who ultimately decided that divorce was the best option for you, like Mirla did, that's your choice. You are an adult. You get to make your own decisions. And we also get to stand up and take responsibility for those decisions, even when the outcome isn't what we would have wanted or expected. So those are my takeaways from season 13. Sorry I'm so late, but better late than never. And I can totally understand if you don't want to watch it, because I am so late in the game. But on the contrary, if you have enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to my channel for more content, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a future post. Thank you so much for watching. Share your thoughts with me in the comments. Feel free. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.